it from within Zoom otherwise. But Kaipo, I had that error show up like other people have.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I was using an email that doesn't have a Zoom account. Is that what you found, Edward? Okay. And we can have our guy Will look into this. So just from what I have seen in my experience, when you're creating a Zoom link, you have a couple options and you have to select one. And one is either a passcode or the other is you have to have a Zoom account. I don't love the passcode because I worry that it's easy for for people to not find the passcode, right? And then you're having to go, here's the link. Oh, and don't forget there's a passcode. So my hope is just that people will, have a Zoom account. So anyway, here we are. Good. Well, do we have anything, guys, we wanted to touch on, or do we want to just open it up for Q&A?
We could announce like Decatur. I think there's a couple partners on here.
Oh yeah, we haven't sent out a formal email though, have we?
Well, Devon is with us in Decatur, right?
Yeah.
Any other announcements?
No.
Our Facebook page.
Yeah, let's put the link in there. I think that's it. So I'll just give a quick overview there's quite a few new folks on here. So Dustin, Kaipo, and I own a business where our mission is to help 10,000 investors get involved in their first co-living property. And after teaching the co-living semesters, Dustin and I started to see all of these, well, I guess even before, really, we've been working on this for a minute. We started to see these barriers that people had to get involved in co-living. So we decided we were just going to start opening up all of our projects to bringing on equity partners, rather than borrowing private money and paying them back, right? And so as an equity partner, you own the real estate with us and you get to learn alongside us the whole project. So we're going to teach you about acquisition and underwriting and, converting it and scaling and all those good things. So we decided we would kind of build off of the co-living semesters by offering this, and then also another extra sort of support for our partners on our projects. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's pretty much open Q&A. If we have a project that we're underwriting, in a couple of times we've brought those. A couple of times we've had projects that we're raising capital. We'll bring those and just kind of walk through our process. That way it just kind of teaches people, like, this is how we raise capital. This is our process and what it looks like. We don't really have anything today, so I think we can pretty much open it. Anything and everything co-living. If you have a deal you want to share, you've got a deal you want us to take a look at, you just have some general questions. We can put some links in, though. We'll start putting some links in the chat. We have a new Facebook group that we started. We also have a community in Fractional, a co-living community. We've got over 700 investors in that community. So it's a great place to go meet people, connect with folks doing whatever it is you want to do in co-living, ask questions. And we have free resources there as well. We've got a co-living calculator. We've got underwriting videos, all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say one other perk too about these office hours is some people come all the time and they start noticing patterns. Like, we can only buy so much at once, and people are bringing us a lot of leads.
Yeah.
And honestly, we're just telling them to come here because we know other people are looking to buy. Roberto,
Yeah.
Devin, there's a few others in here.
Yeah.
And so there's several reasons someone could be in this Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah. Good call. Yeah. Because we don't necessarily want our fractional community or our Facebook community to be a place where people are posting deals. We want that to more be supportive. I mean, it's great to come on and say, hey, I'm interested in this type of co-living, love to connect with somebody, but more of a platform for people to connect and us to continue to bring value. So this is a appropriate place to come on and go, hey, I'm Roberto, here's what I'm looking for. Or, hey, I'm Edward, I got a couple deals. If anyone's interested, connect with me offline. Yeah. All right, let's hop in. Nelson's got his hand up. Hi, Nelson.
Hey, sorry, I'm eating.
Oh,
So-
I'm going to record really quick. Sorry, hold on a sec.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
There we go. Okay, thank you. No, you're good. I just finished eating.
Yeah, I just had my camera off because I didn't want you guys to all be watching me. But so I guess I have a two-part question, and so I appreciate you just diving in with questions. I just thought I'd have one since you said that's where it was going. One, I've got a deal that I'm in Kansas City, and it's co-living, and we've got a member tenant. It's a pad split property. Won't leave the premises. Went to try and get him out. As of right now, he's not leaving. So I was under the impression when we started this is my first property we've got that is co-living. And so I was under the impression with pad splits agreement, we can just cancel his membership and move him out, take his stuff out, change the locks, everything else. But the partner who is doing the main operating, I brought the money to the deal. He's operating it. Has been advised that it's like up to $5,000 fine. If we do that, we have to go through the eviction process, everything else. So this is in Missouri, which I would have thought, is a pretty red state as far as, tenant laws and whatnot go. I'm in Washington, so that wouldn't have surprised me at all in Washington. But I guess, has anyone come across that? Do you have anything in Missouri? Do you have anything where you know that process when it comes to getting a tenant or member out of the house? Any advice?
Yeah.
We
yeah,
have he's not on right now, but we have a partner that lives in Missouri. But the very, very first thought is like a cash for keys. Some people, they don't agree with it, but in terms of opportunity cost of like time, effort, mental bandwidth, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But we heavily lean on our rep, like the pad split rep. You said it is through pad split entirely, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would lean on them. What do
Yeah.
you think, Tracy?
And like, we don't know, I don't know the laws there, but the members we're still under the guidelines and the rules and laws of whatever state, city, county that we're in that governs that. Yeah, so I would imagine you can't just kick them out. You'd have to go through the eviction process. Is your rep helping you guys with that? I mean, that is definitely their role.
Yeah, I'm not the main point of contact with the pad split rep. They are. And so I don't know to the extent that they pushed on that. From what I understand, they haven't received a ton of help. So I can try and follow up and get more clarity on that from them. But as I understand it, it's just kind of a battle of the wills. The guy is stealing food from other members, and we called the sheriff. The sheriff came out, said we can't do anything about it. And so now it's trying to figure out how to get rid of him. But
Yeah, I mean, there's different layers of pad split too. So if you're not satisfied with maybe an individual rep, like you can go higher up.
100%. I would definitely be leaning on them very heavily. I mean, that's what you're paying them for. And they have procedures on eviction. And so it is just surprising that they should be able to sit down with you and walk you through that process, right? And it could just be that the partner that's, handles this, maybe that's not their like area of expertise. Like maybe they just uncomfortable, right? Yeah. So maybe you offer to step in and say, hey, look, I want to make this easy for everybody. So like, can I step in and help? Right. Yeah, because they should just be able to sit down with you, pad split, and walk you through the process and kind of help you through. Because yeah, you want to start that eviction process as soon as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll
sorry,
take that
that's
back to
so
him.
challenging.
I mean, it's part of the game, right? It's just,
That's part of the game,
At least
man.
it's one
Anytime a
room
tenant moves out,
and
like
not the whole
successfully, I'm
house,
like, whew.
right?
What's that, Hudson?
I said
Exactly.
at least it's one room and not
It's-
the whole house.
exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
say that's something we like about this is that, you know, but to your point though, that if they're stealing food and doing things like that, that could affect your other tenants, and then you start losing tenants, and that's not cool at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So that's part one. Part two is I am in Washington and I'm trying to do deals in Washington. And I know that in the past you have talked about, at least like in your training, that some of your purchases that you take on, you can even do through the MLS. And in Washington, it's just things go off the market so fast. It's hard to find. They're out there, and I'm happy for anyone who's on here who finds deals in Washington wants to bring them to me. But
You're like, please.
exactly. But they are harder to find, and so I've been trying to work in the numbers and trying to figure things out, and I'm just not finding a way to do it. So as far as like underwriting a deal where it can financially make sense. And so I guess I don't have anything in front of me because I'm on my phone and it's not ideal. I wasn't exactly planning on coming up today, but I guess my question is, at some point, could you underwrite a deal that you have on the MLS and kind of walk through that process of how you do that to make it work? Or is it just my market is tough and that's why I can't find things on the MLS?
Oh, we did that a couple weeks ago. Huh.
Yeah, we could definitely look at one. The more data we have at that moment, the better, especially like a floor plan. It's a really tough when we don't have at least like a primitive napkin sketch floor plan, like even if it's just measurements, because then because 1-2 rooms can make or break something.
Right. I mean, I have a property that I recently went through with an agent in my market, and he has a full video that he put together walking through, and he has like, I have the listing of the house, and I don't have like a Kubicasa where it's got the actual layout, but with more planning, I could give you that information and we could go through it and just kind of see.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's one that you're serious about. That like you said, Kubicasa, and then I think there's other apps that people use for it. But it does help us deep dive significantly more. Otherwise, it's like we're looking at population, bus stops, pass foot data, and then we're like speculating on room count.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe a better way to do this then is I can reach out with you guys on the side and just say, here's all the information, and then we could bring it to the office hours when I have it all up and kind of in a better set.
You just kind of come here with it and then come early, put your hand up.
Okay.
We just don't have the time offline. That's why we dedicate the 2 hours a week to the office hours, because we just don't have enough time to do individual. I mean, Dustin and I do individual consulting, but that's like a separate business. So like for free, these 2 hours, just bring what you have. But like Dustin said, you don't need it, but it's really helpful to have a floor plan idea, because otherwise we don't really know how many rooms. We're just kind of speculating.
Yeah. Okay. That's good for me to know. So next time I'll have everything, and I'll have, instead of just being on my phone, I'll have a laptop, and I can share the stuff that way.
We love that. It's super helpful for everybody. So that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. What's up, John?
Hello.
How are you?
So I was, just been looking, trying to find a possible co-living place, and I found what I think would work. It's on the market. It is a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom, but with the addition of about 4 walls, it could be 8 bedrooms. without converting the garage.
Oh, nice.
And the price is $255. There is an existing mortgage that is around 200,000. And so I figure, am I thinking right? In the rehab of, and it doesn't need anything else, just those walls added. I'm doing rehab of 25,000, furniture 10,000, a reserve of about $10,000, and then closing cost about $5,100. And so looking for a PMP of $62,000, that could be several people. And that would give a 12% annual return, because with this, according to pad split in this area, it could net $1,301 a month with 8 rooms. Am I doing the numbers right? Am I thinking along the right lines?
Yeah, I think Dustin, you want to hop in, or I'm just thinking of a couple of things that we want to make sure you calculated accurately in your underwriting.
Yeah, I mean, the first thought, John, is do you have that, just our free calculator? Like, have you filled that out?
I filled out the free calculator. And that one, with the pad split, the rooms with a shared bathroom is $163 a month. And since there would be no private bathrooms, I put 8 in that column. And then the PITI, if I could assume the mortgage or wrap it, the PITI would be right at $1,700 a month. If I couldn't, then, I would see about possibly bringing in all private money partners.
Yeah.
But I haven't done the calculation yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you got monthly reserves in there, monthly maintenance and vacancy. You filled those.
The water, the vacancy, the monthly reserve, the pad split 8%, and the manager.
Percent.
So the pad split part 2, typically you'll want to allocate more like 11-12%, because they are taking the first 10 days.
That is, I'm sorry, it says 8%, but it is 12% in the calculation.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's how we set that up correctly. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a property manager, 400, which is a hard number in there. And in this area, it's like 4 days to your first booking, and they are running 100% in that area, 0 vacancy.
Damn.
It's like 22 days to being 80%. But I did did leave the vacancy rate at 10% just in case.
Yeah, because that's going to be your vacancy like throughout the ownership as well. Yeah.
So John, here are the 3 steps that I recommend. First, you double check the property taxes, because if it's at a homestead assessed value, you want to confirm that when this changes title and stuff, it's not going to trigger a massive spike in property tax, because that could adjust your PITI. Like, it's typically going to adjust some, but like if this is a house that's been under a homestead and it can only increase 3% annual or whatever it is, you could have a spike, or a VA loan. Like, you just want to double check that property tax. One curveball. The second, like if you're real serious about it, you want to go ahead and get an insurance quote. And then they're going to start asking you like roof age, stuff like that. And then that'll help you calibrate that PITI even more. And then assuming after you've done those 2, you still like everything checks out, that's whenever I would approach it to like the pad split rep. But you want to do it sparingly, because if they want to help you learn, but if 5, 10, 15 times they interact with you and they start just thinking that it's burning time, it could burn that bridge eventually. So if you go to them with all the due diligence, and you're like, hey, can we double check this? That's the best bet, because they're gonna have.
Yeah, that's their job.
Yeah, those are the three, in my opinion, those 3 steps.
Yeah, I would just add to that also, because we don't know that area. So it's hard for us to say whether or not your estimate for the conversion is accurate. I mean, it sounds reasonable. I think you said 25,000 and then 10 for furnishings.
Yes. Or 12.
So what's that?
I said 12 for furnishings.
Okay, gotcha. So I just don't know if the 25 is realistic because I don't know that area. So again, I would, maybe talking to a pad split rep, they maybe have a better idea. If you have a contract, obviously you're going to need a contractor, right? So it's always smart to be interviewing for them ahead of time. So maybe you could, just get a rough idea. Do you need to add a bathroom?
I thought about that and I thought, well, I could always add a bathroom. There's a half bathroom. And I thought, well, maybe there's some way I can add a shower to that to get a full bathroom, but I've not seen the layout. I have to look at the layout first.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I'm hoping it backs up to a closet somewhere.
Right. So that's permitting. So also keep that in mind. So just make sure your holding costs are really accurate for that time from close to completion. So again, another reason to talk to a contractor also is just to kind of get an idea of what their timeline of permitting looks like. So they might go, yeah, I could do the job in 2 weeks. And then you go, okay, what's the permitting time? Oh, they're out 2 months. You're like, okay, so you're actually 2 months and 2 weeks. And I'm going to double your 2 weeks to 4 because you're a contractor. So I don't trust you with your timeline, at least. Yeah, I think that's like the start.
All right. Yeah. And then, and my thought about bringing in, private money partners for, the bridge funding, and doing the calculation, my thought is 50% equity for the people bringing the money. And that's how I get it. It comes out to based on these numbers, comes out to a 12% annual return.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. That something seems off because that does seem a little.
That seemed off to me too. But
John, do you have one already?
do I have a pad split?
Yeah.
Co-living? No.
Here's the best bet of getting this done is you find someone that's doing it in the area and you negotiate like, hey, if I have a deal, I would love to tackle it. I know if I'm going to raise capital, I should probably do it with someone that's already doing it. And then like you negotiate some equity for finding it.
I already have somebody.
Okay. Well, what did they say about the return? Like the numbers and all that?
Well, they haven't totally looked at the numbers. I've just kind of given them a highlight to see if they would be interested in it.
Yeah.
And they said they would like to take a look at it.
Yeah.
But, it just, it just comes out, basically, taking the amount of investment divided by the net, or taking the net amount divided by the investment.
Yeah. And then I would we put in some healthy reserves and they just seem to still always be touched.
Yeah, you'll want to definitely make sure of all the major systems, right? Roof, HVAC. It's also, depending on the age of the home, it's also nice to understand what the plumbing looks like from the house to the road. If it's an older house, you have to consider that, you're going from those pipes are there for, 3-4 person occupancy, and now you're going to go to 8 or 10. You could have plumbing issues. So just kind of double check on the age of the house. And a lot of times if it's older, they've already changed the plumbing from the house to the road. and increase the size?
I think this was built in the early 2000s, if I remember right.
Yeah, you should be pretty good then.
Yeah,
Cool.
because it would be the PVC pipes, not the clay.
Yeah. Yeah, you just want to make sure they're the larger size, because my understanding is a lot of older homes were a bit smaller.
All right,
You know, the pipes, yeah.
the plumber. It was built in 2003.
It's probably just fine. I mean, at least your contractor would know, you know. A couple other quick things is I would, you know, reach out to your pad split rep and get some ideas of property managers and make sure that you have one that's actually willing to take on your property and get a more realistic quote on the expense. Because you don't want to take it on and not have a property manager. I mean, unless, you know, you're okay with that, but typically people don't want to be answering the phone from the property manager.
That's correct. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, great. That's great. I'm excited to hear more about it.
I'll keep you updated.
I love it. All right. What's up, Roberto? So good to see you.
Hi guys,
Hello, Roberto.
good to see you all too. I wanted to do a couple things. One is I wanted to share a few things, give you updates of what I've been up to.
Love it.
Ask you some questions too.
Love it.
So, as you know, I've been searching for properties and in different avenues, wholesalers and direct on market and different ways. And so the past few days, I've gone on the on market route just to see what's out there and like trying to see what is a possibility. And there's a few things that I've been doing. So one of them is, as you know, like I have different markets that I'm looking at, and I'm picking one for now, just for getting organized, which is Atlanta. So I'm narrowing down right now this week to look at the Atlanta market, just to learn. I don't live there, so I'm learning, the different areas and what works, what doesn't work there, and trying to connect with more people there. And so one of the things that I've done looking on market is that I kind of changed a little bit the approach when I'm searching. So what I'm doing is, instead of searching for, like if I'm on Zillow, instead of searching for room count or bathroom count, I'm searching for house size. And based on that, I figure out how many rooms can be created in a house. So I did this, I search in the area that I'm, general area that I'm looking at for that. And then I started looking at the different properties and, looking at photos, and if there's floor plans, taking a look at that and see what could work. And then obviously there's different criteria of being close to transportation, job sites, that kind of thing. And so I found a property, and I'm looking at like different size properties, like from actually the minimum size property that I'm looking at right now is about 2,500 square feet. Because it feels like, based on what and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but based on what I've seen and what I've been talking to like so many people, it seems like properties don't cash flow well until you have at least like 7 or 8 rooms. And a house of that size, about 2,500 square feet, seems like it will be suitable for that size count. And so that's why I'm changing my criteria to look for that size count, because I know that I'm going to be able to maybe fit about 7 to 8 rooms at least. And so I've changed a little bit of that approach there. And so I've been looking at different size houses, starting from that size up until like 4,000 square feet houses, and just kind of dreaming and seeing like what works or not. And so I came across a few properties. One of them, which I I think I want to share just to get your sense, since I know that you guys are have at least one property in Atlanta. I don't know if you have a few of them, and I know that you have the Decatur property, so you might know a little bit of the area. This property is not in Decatur; it's in South Atlanta, and one of the things is that this property it ticks a few boxes. Few of them are kind of questionable for me, like for instance, like the proximity to public transportation. So Atlanta has the Martha Transit, and so I don't know how widely used the Martha Transit is for the trains versus buses, but there's like they have a whole network of buses as well. This property is close to buses. I'm not familiar with like the frequency, although I found the Martha website that gives you like all the different routes, and I'm happy to share with you, like, you know, when you put it in address, it tells you when the bus is coming and how to get from one place to another, which has been helpful. So having said all this is because this particular house is like a 15-minute walk to a bus stop. And the first question there is, how do you feel about that? Is that too far already or not? That's the first question, I guess.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, what is for the zip code, what does the revenue look like? Like the days to 80%, that kind of stuff.
That zip code is 30213, and there's 95% occupancy. Weekly shared rooms is 177. Takes 4 days to fill the first booking, 26 days for 80%. There's 41 units there right now.
Because it sounds like a decent zip code. So it's like when it has some good data like that, I'd be less concerned about the 15-minute walk. But then when it's like there's 9 rooms, minimal data at all, then we typically will give a lot more weight to the bus stop. I think the last percentage Audrey had said, and this is nationwide, but I think it was like 50-something% of the the people that are living in the pad splits have cars.
Yeah. I think that's why parking has become just such a really a highlighted piece, is because more and more people do have cars.
Okay.
So yeah, I agree with everything that Dustin just said, for sure.
Okay.
So it seems like, Roberto, how serious are you on it? Like, is it something you're like, you have the cash burning a hole in your pocket and you're ready to pounce, or like where?
If you're asking because if I feel comfortable sharing the address, I'm totally comfortable sharing the address, and like we can look at it. I am serious about moving forward with properties. That's to answer that question. This particular property, it seems like a big dream. Though. Like it's a big house. It will be like a 13, 14 room house, I think, based on the size.
Yeah, and I more so ask because we do encourage people to communicate with the pad split reps, but at the same time we know a lot of people burn their time. But when you're like really serious, they can. Here's a perfect example. They could go look at the comps and see if there's car restrictions on the 5 closest comps of the area you're looking at. Like, for example, the one that we're buying near Tampa, it's going to be a 10-bed, and I don't know what Audrey's official decision is, but we're talking about limiting the parking there. Like the first 6 or first 7, first come, first serve, they can park a car there. And so that's the level of like metrics they can see, but you want to use it sparingly at the same time. Like those requests.
Okay. And I understand that. In this particular property, I don't think parking is an issue. It's a big property. They have a lot of land, I guess. Like fitting the cars, it wouldn't be an issue. It's more about if it's something that makes sense based on the location.
Yeah, like I would go back to kind of what Dustin said. I mean, we really lean heavily, even before we had Audrey on our team. my pad split rep was not Audrey from the get-go. And I leaned on him a lot. I mean, he looked at every property. Obviously, I would make sure I was serious about it. But he would look at everything, and he was very honest, because he doesn't want to steer me the wrong way and then I get into a property that's not making any money, because he's not going to make money and he's going to get a bad rap. So I do think, as far as location, I don't know, what do you think about that, Dustin? Just location and car, how many people in that area are driving cars versus, they can tell, because they can see all the surrounding pad splits. They can see, like, okay, this one's got 8 rooms but only 4 parking, and they're having a hard time keeping it full because there's so many people driving.
Yeah. Yeah, that, and then if you haven't already, identifying who the biggest employer is, like how, and that's like, I ask chat this all the time, like, chat, in this zip code, who are the top 5 employers? How far away are they from this address? Like that kind of stuff. And you verify it still, but if there's, for example, if there's a hospital that employs 4,000 people and it's 2 miles away versus 10 miles, it could, sway you differently.
Yeah. Well, in that respect, I did a little research, and this property is like, it's like 15 minutes from the driving, 15 minutes from the airport, 15 minutes to Amazon warehouse, 15 minutes to Walmart, 15 minutes to Home Depot. So it's like centered between all these, I guess, good employers for that type of property.
I mean, the airport and Amazon alone are pretty. You're both pretty much.
Yeah, that's pretty stellar.
Pretty set.
Yeah. The one thing is that it's a big property. It will be a big project, but I'm just dreaming big too. But it ticks some of those boxes. The one thing that I had, the big question was about like the walking distance to public transport, and if I depend heavily on people having cars, if I should really not look at it that way, like if I should steer away from that kind of situation.
Yeah, because your pricing too will naturally filter the demographic. Like the lower you go, probably won't have as much cars. Like you can play around with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a look at the property? Is that something that you want to take some time right now, or is it not worth it right now? Like, tell me.
Yeah, no, we could. Yeah, we'll just make sure we have some time for Edward, but we still have 20 minutes. So,
yeah.
And you have, so this is on market, right?
It's on market.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's great. So we at least have and how would you fund this? Because that will also play very heavily into, how we can kind of help you figure out if it's going to be affordable. Would you be bringing your own money and then getting a hard money loan?
Well, very good question. So I would bring some of my own money, possibly. Possibly seller finance the house.
I would just assume 40% down with the DSCR. I know they're telling 40%? You 25, and I know everyone is saying 25, but we can attest live data. Just assume 40%. Because they're going to get picky about the appraisal. They're going to get picky about the ratio, the DSCR ratio. Like, just be real cynical about that down payment.
Yeah, because what happens is, they're going to look at this and they're going to calculate, they're not going to look at pad split, co-living rental rates, right? They're going to look at either long or short term, just depending on, what the market looks like there. And, that's what they're going to base everything off of. And so often, you have to come in much, much higher. And even if you do seller finance, you're still going to have something out of pocket plus your cost to convert. And also whether you do DSCR or not, you'll need that, all that upfront down payment and conversion. So obviously seller finance is going to be less expensive, but you'll still need whatever that entry fee, closing costs, reserves, and conversion cost.
Yeah, so I just need to adjust the numbers a little bit on that DSCR if it's 60% as opposed to 70%,
Like
75%.
on one of the deals like that we have going on, they tried last second saying actually we want 57%.
Yeah,
Last
Crazy.
second.
yeah,
we
yeah.
had to
Like
fight
Last
them
couple
on
of
it.
days.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's definitely, it's just really hard getting loans on these. It is. It's just really a challenging thing, and they're going to look at experience. They're going to look at your personal liquidity. They're going to look at your credit score. I mean, all the things. And then they're going to look at the fact that this is a really odd situation, right? I mean, you're not going to tell them in this scenario that you're doing co-living, but so I guess that's off the table. I'm thinking of when we do the pre-existing, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So if you want to share, yeah, we'd be happy to.
I just put the address on the chat.
Awesome. Perfect. I'm going to go. Where do we want to start, Dustin? We kind of already talked through the area. Do we want to just look at it and see if we can't piecemeal together some ideas of layout?
Yeah.
The one thing that is not, you can see it now, they don't have a floor plan, but based on the photos, it seems like I could figure it out. But
Yeah.
by all means.
Sometimes that's how it is, right? Sometimes it is true. We'll look at a place and it's like, oh, yeah, I can figure that out. What do we got? 3175. Huh. 3175. I don't know why that's not coming up. Let me try Zillow. I'm not seeing it on Redfin.
Yeah, I mostly use Zillow.
And guys at home, you can follow along. I like that it's brick. I mean, that's great. It's a big house. That's terrific. Definitely when you're considering your monthly maintenance, do remember that this is really a large lot with a lot of landscaping and lawn. So make sure that you get a more accurate quote on, and maybe they already have, like they might have a landscaper already that you could ask the seller, like, what do you pay for your landscaping every month? Because that's going to be an expense. And we don't account for, we just kind of account for your traditional, like smaller lot, minimal maintenance. Okay, so it's not, I bet that's just a brick facade, it looks like, because the back is vinyl. Or not, or the back is an addition that they put on with, I'm assuming it's vinyl siding or something like that. Lots of parking. I mean, you'd have to do, maybe, it looks like you probably get 2x.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you, but I don't think parking is an issue there. They have plenty of space there.
All right, so you got the piano room. That's an easy extra. You got the room with the fireplace. That's an extra. That even has an exterior door that looks like it goes out to the deck. I mean, that could be a depending on how you can access that deck, or that could be definitely like a suite, maybe that you charge a little more.
Yeah, I know it was probably a month ago or so when Audrey last mentioned it, but one of her biases when they don't have all their individual bathrooms, they don't really like going over 10. Like if it's not a 10-10 or a 9-9, like if it's shared bathrooms, so that is like a subjective. I'm sure different reps have different opinions on that, but it's something to keep in mind. Because then it's like you have, kitchen space, like the different ratios like that. So it's like you only have one kitchen. If it starts getting 12, 13 people, it could get a little wild.
These bedrooms are massive. Wow, that's cool. And then in that master bath, I mean, again, this is where you need a contractor to walk it, but like that master bath is huge. And if there's a way to make the master bath accessible, and then maybe you take the closet and the tub in the master bath and you somehow create at least like another half bath. I mean, that could be helpful, because that is really a big space. And nobody's really using a shared tub. I mean, they would, people will, but downstairs is massive too. You probably, like Dustin said, you probably really have to add
Maybe a
some
kitchenette.
extra bathrooms. But now that downstairs looks like it has its own, like a kitchenette.
Yeah.
Although what I'm seeing is none of those windows in the basement are legally allowed for egress. So you'd have to
Are those too small?
how does that work, Dustin? Because it's got the stairs out upstairs, I still don't think that, I don't know that
Yeah,
that
it's like
counts.
two forms of exit in
Yeah.
case of a fire. So you'd have to. They do look small.
Roberto, you can Google, go to the city planning website, and you could Google what's the minimum size for an egress window. And they usually all have like photos, and because it could be different when it's like, height versus width. They usually have a
Yeah.
couple different,
Yeah, because it'll be like a minimum width, minimum length, but there's also a minimum square foot overall. So it's like you couldn't have the minimum on both length and width because it needs to be total size.
I have to just pause. I've got to just hop off for a sec. I'll be right back.
But yeah, Roberto, I mean, the first thought is like a 10-4. And then I saw one picture with the kitchenette. So depending on how creative you wanted to get with that. But I mean, it's plenty of space. I like your style of, you're looking more at like square foot as your dominant filter, it sounds.
Yep. Okay. Let's go back to, we can go back to the house, but can we go back to the location? What is your opinion on that location?
Here, let me pull up. I'm going to pull up the actual pad split data real quick. Let's see. I mean, Georgia overall, we're definitely a fan of. All right, 302. So are you, it sounds like you, from a scaling perspective, you want to narrow down to Atlanta for a little bit? Is that what you're
Well,
thinking?
I have different markets that I'm eyeing. It's just that there's just enough time in the day to research. And so this week, let's call it, I picked Atlanta to start looking at properties.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to screen share real quick. All right, so we're at 3. Where is it? So Jonesboro Road, 30213.
Devin, with the tubs, I mean, it would just depend. Like the freestanding tub, if I could, I probably would. I mean, it would depend on the layout. If you could put a toilet there or a standing shower and have that be another shower. But of course, again, it just depends on that whole layout, which we can't really see. But, I wouldn't take it out unless you could do something with the space. We're always like, the cost to do it versus, how long is it going to take to make that money back?
All right, when then is this one south or where is it?
East of where you are now. So, sorry, west.
Okay. 30213. Yeah, I mean,
It's a weird zip code for the road. Where are you?
Normally I can Command F and it'll just show up.
Oh yeah, this is weird. I don't see it.
A little further south.
Yeah, it's southwest of Atlanta.
Oh, there you go,
There
to
it
your
is.
left, Dustin. Yeah, that's that. That's a big, is that?
So it's
All
So
right.
it's like in the fringes of core market, and it's sitting sort of on that tip, on the not on the bulky
Yeah.
area, but on the tip, that
Yeah.
almost
So
like bird shape.
we like to look to, okay, so like Atlanta's the hub, right? And then it's just expanding essentially.
Yeah.
And then, so it's nice to compare the zip code that's in between yours and Atlanta to
Yep.
get some data, and then the opposite. So it's like, if you go farther from Atlanta, how strong is that? Just to just shed a little more insight.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 48 days, 80% booking. Let's see, and then how close is it to the highway? Like this main.
There, I can look.
It's not that well. It's more like, you see how it has like that bird shape on the bottom right.
Yeah.
It's around the eye of the head.
Okay.
Yeah, around
Good.
that area.
Yeah, that would be like personally how we would normally go about it. That next step is like really investigating the top 5 employers. Like really thinking, okay, if I buy it, what are the probabilities the tenants are going to work here, here, or here? Like really taking the time to think it through of who that person most likely, like what their life is like why are they there, why are they living in your property, what is their day-to-day, that kind of reverse engineering based on these core market segments.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I know we are short on time, and we have Edward as well.
But I would say if you want to bring this again, if you're still kind of looking at this on Tuesday, feel free to bring it back. I would say, I don't know, what would you say next steps would be, Dustin? I mean, I guess you just said that.
Yeah, like that's the first thought that comes to mind, is like really digging in. Like pretend you bought it, and you're like, and pretend you bought it, and then pretend pad split just shut down, and you're like, I have to fill this. Who are you going to go after? Like, who are you going to put flyers on bulletin boards, like outside of, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that level.
Dustin, you said you're thinking about this as a 10-4 more or less. How, in your experience, how many is too many? I know there's the bedroom bath ratio for sure, but if you have enough bathrooms, like how many people is too many in one house?
Well, the thing Kaipo, Tracy, and I are really paying attention to a lot more moving forward is the kitchen ratio as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the beginning, Nelson.
That's where that kitchenette could come in handy. Where downstairs it can be like a double kitchen. However, that's double appliances and kind of double work-ish too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna need 2 fridges anyway. Maybe you don't need a whole, full-blown oven. You could have a toaster oven, like some simple stuff. But that's the other ratio that we're really, really keeping in mind on these next couple properties that we're buying, is how we can just make it like pretend we're all living in it, like how we can all just live.
How crowded does the
harmony.
kitchen get?
Yeah. Especially things
And
like,
what's that ratio that you found is a sweet spot, more or less, if you have a thought about it?
well, like we're buying one now privately that is it's 10 beds, and it'll have a full kitchen and a kitchenette.
Okay.
So yeah, we
Okay.
really like that ratio.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, my next step, the way that I was thinking, I wanted to bring this up just to get your general opinion. I've been thinking about all these things as well.
Yeah.
My next step is I want to get in touch with somebody that can at least walk the property, or like I know there's a showing this weekend, so if I can have somebody go there, and even like I share that, by the way, I share this app that I found that is one of those apps that you can scan the property.
Yeah.
And it builds a 2D blueprint. It's a free app, so you can look on the chat. It's called qb.casa. I used it in my place here at home, and it works great. So I was thinking of like just having somebody walk the property, just to like have a better sense of like exactly how the space is.
Yeah. I mean, the agent should like.
What's that?
The agent should be like cooperative with something like that. I mean, usually.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I would definitely ask the agent if they've got a floor plan, or if she could just even kind of give you a sketch out of the layout.
Cool. What else? Do you have questions for me? Anything else you want to add?
I think that was mostly it. Like I would, connect with the agent and see if you can get that, because then you can just really sit down with whichever rep, and they can give you, because like our ratio is kind of broad, but like in certain markets they are more dense, like that is the norm. And so that rule of thumb of 10 is just more of an arbitrary number, where local pockets are like, oh, this is normal, this is what everything looks like.
Yeah, I mean, we've had realtors do walkthroughs, like video walkthroughs. I mean, yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, I was planning on not calling the agent today anyways.
Perfect. Awesome.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Well done, Roberto.
Let's see, we have a minute for Edward to jump before
Yeah,
we hop off.
Yeah, because you were so patient.
Thanks, y'all. My question, you guys were actually kind of covering a bit already. I just wanted to say to Tracy, congratulations on the Midas Touch Award.
Thank you.
You're well deserved.
Appreciate that so much.
Absolutely.
Pretty amazing. I was so surprised.
No,
Dustin get a test, right? I was sitting there, Dustin, like clapping.
I think
I
you
didn't even recognize my name was called.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, it was cool. Thank you. Appreciate that, Edward.
You bet. You bet. So you guys were actually kind of talking about it. My question's more about the parking, because I'm on the hunt for properties myself, and I can see how parking is just a massive deal. And so I was just kind of wondering, how does that work? It kind of sounds like it's more first come. Like, let's say we have 8 to 10 rooms, right? And there's only parking out front for maybe a few cars. Is this something we're basically telling the tenants, hey, first come, first serve on the parking, and good luck to the rest of you? Or like how, you know what I mean? How does that pan out?
Yeah, it kind of depends on the street parking availability. Because really when something goes wrong with the pad split, it's because you're making the neighbors mad, and it's because of parking. And so depending on the neighborhood, the availability of extra parking, stuff like that, it's really up to you how strict you want to be, where you can tell them like, hey, first come, first serve, these 4 get the driveway, no one else is allowed a car at all. Or you can be like, I don't care where you guys park, just do not park XYZ in front of these neighbors. Or so it's kind of your risk tolerance.
Okay.
And we'll talk to the members about that as far as parking, and just kind of remind them that we're just all really grateful that we have this opportunity to provide all this affordable housing to so many people. And if we get the neighbors upset, the whole house could be shut down and then everybody's, out. So we really do, that's something we keep tabs on big time. One of the things when you're looking at the property, just notice, are there other neighbors parked on the street? So just because you can legally street park doesn't mean you should, right? If you go into the neighborhood and nobody's parked on the street, you don't want to be the one house that's parking 2, 3, 4 cars on the street.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking, one thing that would be helpful is like properties on a cul-de-sac, kind of at the end of the street. What are your thoughts on something like that?
More corner lots.
Yeah.
Corner lots.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'd be more inclined actually to stay away from a cul-de-sac because you figure the full-time residents that live there, like they bought at a premium because it's in a cul-de-sac, right? And it's quiet and their kids can play basketball out in the cul-de-sac and run around on their bikes. And so then all of a sudden we roll in and we got 5, 7, 8 people coming and going and walking and bus and cars. And then it's like, it takes away from why those people probably bought there in the first place.
Got it.
That's just a personal thing, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you bet. Coolio. Guys, thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging around, all you folks that hung around for so long. We really appreciate it. And we'll see y'all on Tuesday.
All right, guys.
Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Recording stopped.